Now at 10 and streaming on crossroadstoday.com, closing arguments will be held tomorrow. Murder trial of Emilio Macedo in Victoria.
The mother of one of the Uvalde school shooting victims is running for mayor of Uvalde.
And Houston ISD is getting rid of librarian positions at 28 schools to make room for disciplinary centers.
As Don Brubaker would say, hot topic here. Yeah, we were a little cooler, but we're going to see those temps return later on in the week. We'll talk all about that and more. But first, here's Gino.
And speaking of hot, the athlete of the week is on fire and getting ready for the regional tournament next week. That's coming up in sports.
You're watching 25 News Now at 10. Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Don Brubaker.
And I'm Karina Garcia. New at 10 tonight, after 4 days of testimony, the state and defense have rested in the Emilio Macedo murder trial in Victoria. Closing arguments will take place at 8 a.m. Friday morning. Macedo was arrested in November 2021 and charged with capital murder of multiple persons and aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. 3 victims, 58-year-old Marty Jacob and 28-year-old Thomas Jones of Victoria County and 30-year-old Sylvester Hernandez of Matagorda County, were found in the 10,000 block of FM 236.
Victoria Police report Wednesday night at around 6:30, officers responded to the area of 1300 North Lewis Street in response to a fight. An investigation found 2 men were involved in a fight when 1 man was stabbed. That man was transported to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. The other man in the fight left before police arrived. Victoria PD saying they believe this was an isolated incident. A Cuero man sentenced to life in prison, 53-year-old Alberto Gutierrez, pled guilty to the charge of continuous sexual abuse of a child under 6 years of age. During a jury trial, the child victim testified. The minimum sentence for this charge was 25 years in prison.
An El Campo man indicted on charges of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. The El Campo Leader News reports the Warren County grand jury returned a 4-count indictment against 21-year-old Robert Abel Johnson, accused of ramming his car into a teenager outside a local motel 2 months ago on purpose. If convicted of any or all counts, Johnson faces up to 20 years in prison.
Let's take a first look at your forecast. Filling in for First Warn Storm Team meteorologist Mac Pettis. Here is meteorologist Howie Gordon. I felt some rain this afternoon, and windshield wipers were making like sandy noises. Hadn't been used much. So Howie, we got a little bit of rain.
You might need to replace those, Don. That's what it might be. But,
they're not used to the rain. They haven't had any.
You're right. You're right. You're right. We did have a little, I'll take Don's word for it, and the radar was indicating as well. But I would say 98% or 95% of the area pretty much stayed on the dry side, and we're headed to even drier times, even though we didn't have a heavy downpour today. Now, these temperatures were a little bit lower. They're going to start creeping up as the week moves along. Not too gusty anymore. We had some 25, 30-mile-per-hour winds earlier. We'll drop down to 81 overnight, but as I mentioned, we're headed towards drier times and potentially excessively hot times. We'll touch more on that coming up very soon. Don, Karina?
Howie, thank you. Days after the Uvalde City Council voted in favor of a special election for the mayoral seat, Kimberly Rubio throwing her hat in the race. KSAT reports Rubio lost her daughter, Alexandria Lexi Rubio, in the Robb Elementary School shooting last year. Since then, Rubio has turned into a gun violence prevention advocate. Current Uvalde Mayor Don McLaughlin announced he is running for the District 80 Texas House of Representatives seat. Houston ISD eliminating librarian positions at 28 schools this upcoming year and converting the libraries into centers where students with behavioral issues will be sent. KPRC reports this is part of the new Superintendent Mike Miles reform program. Houston ISD says the remaining 57 schools' librarians will be assessed on a case-by-case basis. Superintendent Miles said students are behind on reading levels in Houston ISD, especially in 4th grade.
The number of migrant families with children crossing the southern border has nearly tripled in the past 2 months. NBC News reports earlier this week more than 2,200 migrants were crossing the border daily on average, up from 790 in early June. Data shows that while single adults are still the largest demographic seen at the border, families are the fastest growing demographic of undocumented border crossings. Most of the migrants are from Central America and Mexico. Now, about 100 Virginia National Guard troops continue to to work along the Texas-Mexico border. They were called into action by Virginia Governor Glenn Youngkin to assist in Operation Lone Star. Hundreds of migrants crossing into Eagle Pass every day say it is better to take the chance of being arrested than to face what they left behind in Central and South America. But for the soldiers patrolling the border, including those from the Virginia National Guard, the job is to keep them from crossing illegally into the U.S.
And when you do come face to face, what's your job?
Just to deter them, tell them go cross back over and come across a legal point of entry.
That's what we've been dealing with on a day-to-day basis. Virginia's been out here since July 8th, I believe, and it's been a crazy day-to-day. So.
On Wednesday morning, the crew traveled about 5 miles downstream to the end of the wire on the U.S. side and saw dozens of migrants reaching the end of the patrol area. There, the migrants were taken by the Border Patrol for processing.
After years of delays, there is progress in the securities fraud case against suspended Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton. KXAN reports a hearing was scheduled for August 3rd in Harris County. Paxton faces felony charges and is accused of defrauding investors in a tech startup. The Texas Court of Criminal Appeals ruled last month the case should remain in Houston. Lawyers for Donald Trump met with special counsel Jack Smith's team today ahead of a potential indictment over the former president's efforts to contest his loss to Joe Biden in 2020.
This as after Trump's team received a target letter alerting the former president he's the subject of an investigation into the January 6th and efforts to overturn the election results.
Tonight, special counsel Jack Smith, who indicted Donald Trump for his alleged mishandling of classified documents, is now charging the former president with an additional 3 charges in this case. Trump facing 2 new obstruction counts and another count of willful retention of national defense information. And now a new figure is emerging in this amended indictment, Carlos de Oliveira, who sources say was the head of maintenance for Mar-a-Lago. De Oliveira now faces charges for allegedly attempting to delete surveillance video footage at Trump's Mar-a-Lago residence last summer and for making false statements in a voluntary interview with the FBI earlier this year. Smith originally charged Trump in May with 37 felony counts related to his alleged mishandling of classified documents and the obstruction of justice.
We did absolutely nothing wrong.
And earlier, sources say Trump's lawyers met for an hour with Smith and his team as another potential indictment of the former president over his alleged efforts to overturn the 2020 presidential election looms. Experts say the meeting is a clear indicator that new charges may be coming soon. It comes after Trump said last week he received a letter notifying him that he's the target of an investigation examining efforts by Trump and his allies to block Joe Biden's victory and the events that led to the January 6 riot at the Capitol. De Oliveira is set to appear in a Miami court Monday. Trump has long denied any wrongdoing in all cases, and the Trump campaign called the new additional charges in the election probe harassment. Em Nguyen, ABC News, Washington.
Gasoline prices in Victoria take a big jump for the 3rd straight day. AAA Texas reports the average price for a gallon of regular gasoline in Victoria surged by 7 cents Thursday to $3.35 a gallon. Average gas prices in Victoria have risen 24 cents a gallon in just 3 days. AAA Texas reports the average gas price per gallon in Victoria 1 week ago, $3.07. The Beeville ISD board voted unanimously to put in random drug testing procedures within their schools. Chris TV in Corpus Christi reports the board wants to address what officials said is a rise of vaping and drug use among students. The district will begin randomly drug testing students who take part in extracurricular activities and those who want to get a school driver's permit. School officials said they are looking at ways to stop vaping. And the FDA has issued warning letters to several e-cigarette distributors. The agency is accusing them of selling and distributing unauthorized products that appeal to minors. The distributors have 15 days to respond with steps they plan to take in correcting and preventing violations. Pack the Bus is this Friday through Sunday. The Victoria Television Group, Faith Family, and HEB are collecting back-to-school items. We need your help this weekend. You can donate at both HEB locations. If you know a student who needs
To sign up to get these school supplies, come to crossroadstoday.com. Distribution day is set for Saturday, August 5th at Faith Family Church on Mockingbird. And don't forget, join us tomorrow on 25 News Now at 5 and 6, where 25 News Now reporter Darius McCormick will be live for the Pack the Bus at HB Plus on 6106 North Navarro Street.
Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Crossroads Today. Hit the like button and click the notification bell. Then you can get Crossroads Today on YouTube. And stay with us. Coming up on 25 News Now at 10. A hearing in Michigan underway to determine if a confessed school shooter will receive life without the possibility of parole.
Also ahead, the DOJ has announced they are opening an investigation on the Memphis Police Department. A hearing in Michigan will determine if a confessed school shooter will spend the rest of his life in jail. Prosecutors argue 17-year-old Ethan Crumbley should be sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. They say the 2021 mass shooting that killed 4 students was premeditated. Crumbley's defense team argued he should not be denied the possibility of parole because of his age, which was 15 at the time. The hearing could be extended into next week. And so here's your viewer poll tonight. Scan that QR code on your screen to vote now. The question tonight is, should mass shooters who committed crimes as minors be eligible for parole? Yes or no? Well, according to these results tonight, 10% say yes and 90% stand at no. Thank you for voting tonight. Visit us tomorrow for our latest viewer poll.
The DOJ announced today they're investigating the city of Memphis and the Memphis Police Department. The investigation will focus on allegations of the use of excessive force, discriminatory policing, and improper searches and arrests. This is to see if there is a pattern of conduct that violates the Constitution or civil rights laws.
Today, we are not concluding that these allegations are of excessive force, improper searches and stops, and racial disparities are sufficient to show a legal violation without further analysis, but they do warrant a full investigation.
Clark said it's difficult to put a timeline on how long the investigation will take, but she said the DOJ will share its findings when it's complete. New research shows a more complete picture of how many people in each Texas county have Alzheimer's or dementia. According to the Alzheimer's Association, Victoria stands at 12.7%, Calhoun County stands at 11.8%, while DeWitt County reports 12.8%, with Lavaca County at 12.4%.
Meanwhile, Jackson County has 12%, Goliad stands at 12.3%, Refugio reports 13.7%, and Wharton is at 13%.
LGBTQ plus women are more likely to have worse heart health than heterosexual women.
However, one study shows the opposite is true for men in one country.
A lot of factors contribute to heart health, like diet, sleep, and blood pressure. A study published in the Journal of the American Heart Association investigated those factors in gay, lesbian, and bisexual adults in France. It found lesbian women are more likely to struggle with obesity and high blood pressure, and bisexual women are more likely to use nicotine but have better diets. The study also notes gay and bisexual men had better overall heart health compared to heterosexual men. Gay, lesbian, and bisexual people face various health stigmas and stressors that can contribute to these differences. The study did not include data on the cardiovascular health of those who identify as transgender. The findings also don't apply to people from other countries, as France has high income and universal health insurance. The CDC says that 1 in 5 deaths occurs as a result of heart disease. Some ways to improve your heart health include getting at least 150 minutes of moderately intensive aerobic activity plus 2 days of muscle strengthening each week. Quit smoking and eat a diet full of fruits, vegetables, and whole grains. Lastly, the agency recommends choosing your drinks wisely. If you have any concerns about your heart health, talk to your doctor. With this Medical Minute, I'm Justin Finch, ABC News.
Doctors believe an allergy passed on by Lone Star Sticks has affected up to 450,000 Americans. An enzyme in the saliva produces alpha-gal, which can cause an allergy to the sugar found in red meat and dairy products. This syndrome can cause hives, shortness of breath, or even anaphylaxis. A CDC report found 78% of people affected go undiagnosed because healthcare providers are not aware of it. Also, since people with the allergy tend to become ill 4 to 6 hours after having red meat or dairy, they don't always connect their symptoms to what they're eating.
Extreme heat across the U.S. has now threatened the nation's largest power grid. PJM Interconnection issued an emergency alert today. It calls for all of its systems to be online due to heightened demand. Over 140 million people are under heat alerts across much of the country, with record-breaking temperatures expected through at least Saturday. On Monday, the company issued a system-wide hot weather alert through Friday in case of 90-degree-plus temperatures hitting the region.
A little bit cooler. I don't know if really that changes what you wore or what you did, but we're going to be even on the hotter side as the week moves along. We'll talk about it straight ahead. All right, so rain chances on the decline, decreasing. Not that we've seen a lot today. A few days ago, I think over the weekend, yeah, we had a little bit of ponded water. Other than that, though, not too bad with the rain. Now, heat indices later in the week as moisture moves into the area and high pressure returns. Yeah, we're going to be on the hot side once again. So, okay, we changed. Earlier today, our high was 98. It recalibrated 100 degrees. As I was saying all day, hey, it's a little cooler. Well, our ambient temperatures, not too bad. Don's laughing at me. Our ambient temperatures, within a few degrees of the average, but heat indices, those are down. Those are really what's been stifling lately. 116, 117, but those are down to 107, 103, 104. But yeah, very much alive on the highs, but still 3 degrees away from a record set back in 1954. All right, winds are picking up a little bit away from the water. We were gusty near the water today in that 25, 30 mile per hour range. We kind of coasted down a little bit, but now, yeah, a little bit of some breezes going on off to the northwest and in the western portion of the viewing area. All right, I'm showing the radar again. Why? Because we were semi-active earlier. We had some showers. Don contested that he saw a couple, but on radar we had a few pop-up showers along the sea breeze, little destabilization from the sun, and that moisture moving in with the sea breeze, yeah, kind of colliding with one another and that little bit of lift. Saw a few showers, but again, most of the viewing area staying completely on the dry side. All right, here's what we're looking at now for dew points. These were a little lower earlier. They've rebounded a little, but another thing is at night when the air cools down a little bit, the air shrinks. So now you got more moisture in the less amount of air. So hey, the numbers come up a little bit. But on the coast, we've been near 80 for much of the day. The thing is, these numbers were a lot lower. Thus, our heat indice numbers were down again in the low 90s in some spots. Now, okay, the sun's gone down. We're, in the night, in the 10 o'clock hour here. So yeah, temperatures on the lower side, not uncommon at all. But these will start shooting up as the week moves along. And some of those 100s, those 102s we saw today, you might be able to add 15 to it later on in the week. Not showing here, not illustrated here, but still we're getting a 108, 105, 107. But again, you might be able to add 10 to some of these numbers later on in the week. High pressure's out in the Four Corners. High pressure's in the Midwest. That should start coming our way. Maybe by Sunday night into Monday, high pressure will start really imposing its grip once again. And then the dust will get out of the way, but the high pressure will be there. And that could push us in to some dangerous heat indices once again as that moisture starts to move in from the Gulf as well. So yeah, maybe some of our hottest weather still ahead of us in the future. Here's that dust I talked about, but hey, the good news is maybe at the end of the weekend, this dust looks to evacuate the area, or not evacuate, but move out of the area. And yeah, give us a little breathing room, no pun intended. That's very, very, very nice. So here's a marine forecast. So water temperature, 93 degrees, like a bathtub. Not like that Manatee Bay in Florida, 100 degrees. That's almost hot tub material. Bay's a little choppy with seas at 2 feet. So yeah, as I said earlier, Don is gone. That's that little storm we had up there in the northern part of Atlantic. We got a little bit of some action taking place just southwest of the Cape Verde Islands. I'm going to keep an eye on that storm. There's a 40% chance of further development in the next week. Hey, that's way out there though, and a ways away. This evening will be in the 80s. Overnight dropping down to just 81 degrees. That's warmer than Oxnard. That's our low is higher than their high out there in California. It'll be 97 tomorrow, mostly sunny skies. And looking ahead, hey, triple digits for the ambient temperatures as well as 110s for our heat indices. For more weather news and sports, you go to our app. That's at crossroadstoday.com, and that is free with any Android and iPhone. And now we go to Sports with Gino.
Thanks, Howie. Speaking of Oxnard, that's where the Cowboys are practicing. But the Industrial Little League season comes to an end. We see how after the break. At a crossroads, the Little League softball team from Industrial needed to win 2 in a row in order to make it to the Little League World Series, and unfortunately they wouldn't do it. In the bottom of the third with 2 outs, Alexandria Mitchell goes yard to put West up 1-0. This would be a crushing blow for East. East was still in it but could not get any offense going. They only had 2 hits the entire game. Then in the bottom of the 5th, West had the bases loaded and a shot up the middle would bring home another run, and things just continued to get worse. Another base hit would bring in 2 more after that, and unfortunately Texas East could not recover. They lose 6-0. Great season from the Industrial team. The athlete of the week is a Little League star who is on a team that made history this year. The Victoria Junior Little League baseball team has done something no other Victoria Junior League baseball team has done before: make it to the regional tournament. They did so with the help of infielder Landon Gandy. The first baseman came up big in the state title game against Lufkin, where he hit a double and was active on the base pass to make it home on a pass ball to score what would be the game-winning run. The incoming freshman said it felt good to come out victorious since falling short last season.
Obviously it feels great, but it's a team sport and I feel like the whole team did their part to get us there and win.
Escaping the state title game with a victory by 1 run could give pause for some concern, but head coach and father to Landon, Lucky Gandy, had faith in his team and said going through tough games like this are going to make the team better prepared for the regional tournament.
I would be lying if I didn't say we weren't all a little nervous, because you just never know what happens. But at some point I just looked up and I said we got the right guys in the right spot, and they knew they were going to finish.
Landon and his team were honored at a Victoria Generals baseball game where they got to spend time with the team and run on the field for a prayer and the national anthem. The team is preparing to take on New Mexico's host team on August 4th. Landon said this team has helped him prepare for his high school season next year at Victoria East.
I just love playing with all my friends, and we have a great time out there, and we love to win, so really competitive team.
During the state title run, Landon had a .333 batting average with 3 doubles, 1 single, 2 walks, and 4 runs scored. On the mound, he pitched 9 innings in 2 games and had 16 strikeouts, gave up 0 earned runs, 2 walks, and only allowed 2 hits. These stats, along with scoring the go-ahead run, are the reasons why Landon Gandy is the athlete of the week. The Dallas Cowboys are a little banged up after its first practice, and Mickey Spagnola has more.
Welcome to Cowboys Daily, brought to you by Miller Lite for this Thursday in Oxnard, California. I'm Mickey Spagnola. The Cowboys in their first practice of training camp suffered a couple injuries. Safety Donovan Wilson and safety Izzy Mukwamu suffered lower leg injuries, and Mike McCarthy said that both will miss multiple weeks. The good news is Tony Pollard and Terrence Steele both returned and were able to participate in practice on a limited basis. The question of the day, it comes from R.E. Federick, and he wants to know, do you think Dak's interceptions will be gone? I think absolutely, because when you look at those interceptions, half of those weren't totally on him. Some were drop passes into interceptions, some were poor routes.
Victoria Generals win its 6th game in a row against the Acadiana Cane Cutters tonight. Final score 7-2. The two will play again on Saturday for the final game of the regular season. But the Generals will be on the road. That's your sports down in Karina. Back to you.
Thanks, Gina. Stay with us. Coming up on 25 News now at 10. We'll take a last look at your weather. Plus, the son of LeBron James was released from the hospital following his sudden cardiac arrest.